Z to Z Podcast presents Review Z.
Good morning, good evening, or good day, and welcome to the Review Z Podcast, the game review of the Z to Z Podcast. The game has achievements, then we try to cover it here. I'm your host, Damien, and thank you for listening. If you've listened to the Z to Z Podcast in the past, then you're familiar with our format. We bring you a separate weekly show covering just reviews of new and sometimes overlooked Xbox titles. And don't forget to check out the regular Z to Z Podcast while you're at it. That show's good too, just like this one, but we have more vitamin D.
Welcome to this week's Review Z. I'm here with Planting, or Warren, and we're going to talk about Planetbase, which was published and developed by Madruga Works, released on 1st of May 2017 with an Xbox Live Store price of $19.99. So this is a construction and management game based in space. It's pretty much Tropico in space.
Aye, dictator.
Yes, and I have like no complaints about this game. Well, we did kind of run into a couple weird things, but it's super fun. It looks fantastic and pretty much does all of the things that Tropico does super well, and then adds kind of some more to it. And of course, the fact that you're kind of colonizing a new planet in space, which makes it, the survival aspect is much has a lot more emphasis than the making enough cigars and rum to pay for the palace.
Great, yeah. Tropico, it didn't self-destruct within 10 minutes if you put the wrong pieces together in your town, whereas this, you need to very meticulously build this base.
And that includes building placement too, which I like, because I always in these type of games, I spend a lot of time kind of planning where I'm going to place my buildings, but it didn't ever really matter because it was always, it was like inconvenient a little bit if they were messy, but in this game, it really matters because, you've got people moving every resource. So if you've got your storage unit way on the other side from your mine, it's going to take a long time. It's going to waste a lot of energy or time that your limited population has to, get to that place and back every time you need a resource. So I did like the kind of city planning aspect of it as well. And I guess for reference, you're on a planet without oxygen, so you have to generate your own oxygen, and all of your indoor facilities are in oxygen bubbles that are all connected by little tube hallways, and you can run out of oxygen if the power goes out, like I did.
Oh, yes. And the power goes out quite often, especially if you've got bad winds and your little windmills aren't working, or if a meteor decides to hit a nice spot on your little power grid and you didn't link it up nicely.
Oh yeah, I didn't think of that, because I stopped linking my power grid to two buildings because I didn't want to use the extra metal. But that's a good point, because
I was going to say, as much as you might want to conserve things, it's also good to have backups, and now I understand why when everyone goes into space, they have backups, because things go wrong very often.
Very often, yeah. And that's what's kind of awesome about it, is you have to plan for that. And it's crazy, because like you can get one little bit of bad luck and it just ruins your whole base. Because one thing goes and then the other things go and then everyone dies.
Oh, yeah. You start losing your repair robots and you haven't yet got the place up to fix them. It's going to be a really rough life for those guys.
Yeah. And it's fun, too, because, you made that mistake. It's part of it is to do with luck, but part of it is to do with you not planning for it. And then the next time you play, you plan for it and you get a lot further. So I really did like that aspect, is every round you correct your mistakes and are more successful, or hopefully more successful. But it's really it's really fun, and I spent way longer than I expected playing this game. And it's kind of one that I think I'll probably go back to on my main tag, because it's not an easy completion by the looks of it. I mean, only 2 people have completed it out of the about 700 that started it. So not super easy. I mean, it hasn't been out for that long, but still, it's going to take some time. So it involves completing all the challenges. Neither of us played the challenges, but they're just a separate mode where you have an objective and you just get to the end, which is kind of typical of these style of games. And then there's a bunch of milestones you have to complete that involve things like getting a certain population or constructing certain things, and that's just kind of in the free mode. And then in all these modes, there were 4 different planets. You have to unlock the later ones, but I assume each planet kind of gets more, has more storms, has fewer resources, so they become harder and harder to settle successfully. So I would say probably more variety in this game than most similar type of games, just because you have different planets that I assume are going to have different landscapes. And yeah, there's not a ton to say about it, because it's just I say just a management game, but there's a lot to it.
It is basically what you would expect out of a management game. There's no real story other than what you kind of craft for yourself as you're putting the base together. And then besides that, yeah, there's the tutorial, and then there's just the meat of the game itself. One note on the tutorial, for instance, though, many times they'll let you kind of like hold your hand, get you going, and then you're like, yes, all right, this is going to be it. Oh, my base is perfect. And then the tutorial ends and you're back in the main menu and you're like, now I gotta do this all again, and you gotta remember the order. And you try to rebuild it, and then it's like a learning experience. You'll fail the first time miserably because I forgot to put out the water extractor or something, and oh crap, okay, yes, I need to remember to put that out, and then you were saying you get a little bit further, you make a little more progress with like a good ideal construction every time you do it.
Mm-hmm. And it's done in a way that it's not punishing. It's very satisfying. And
agreed.
I like that. Yeah. And I guess, I don't know, there's a couple of things that we were kind of talking about before the show that it's a little bit lacking. So you can't, and I mean, I say lacking, but it's just things that are annoying that would kind of improve the game. You can't micromanage your people like you can in a game like Roller Coaster Tycoon. In that, like, you can't say you just work on this in this area, you only stay here and do this. They kind of do their own thing. And what ended up having for both of us is we had a really successful colony that had a ton of food, like tons. Like I had so much food, I was selling it to traders for cash. And then it got to a point just one day that my people just stopped eating. It's like there was tons of food, but everyone was dying of starvation. And then they stopped tending the food plants, and then everyone died. And I don't understand why. I don't know if that is supposed to happen, or I missed something, or maybe it's bad kind of prioritization in tasks in the game. But I'm really confused as to why that happened, and it kind of sounds like the same thing happened to you, Warren.
Oh, yes. I had several biorooms just full of stacked boxes, as in, like, they were producing, someone was spending the time to harvest them, and then they would just sit there, as in, like, they wouldn't go and make meals for themselves. I'm like, wait a minute. If you guys have all these materials sitting around, why are you hungry? And I'm just like, I'm watching them die. I'm looking at the food going, why didn't you eat it?
Yeah, and I don't know why that is. It's a little odd. And I added more meal machines, and they still didn't eat any food. So I don't know. But
I mean, I made sure I had the bile rooms next to that canteen there, so they didn't have to walk anywhere. Like, it was right next door. Nah, they were still too lazy.
Yeah, so I don't know. That was a weird one, but other than that, and I also broke the tutorial. I got both of my building people stuck in between 2 hallways, so I couldn't complete the tutorial. But I didn't make that mistake again. But other than that, it's really fun. And if you like these kind of games, it's, I would say, as good as a kind of AAA quality release from like 2010 era. Which, I mean, there haven't really been a ton of these since then anyway. But I would definitely put it on par with a game, or very close to, with a game like Tropico. And given that this is a $20 release, absolutely worth it. No question. It's super well done. Looks great. Plays great. The controller controls are super good. I have really no complaints other than kind of that confusing issue with people not eating. But other than that, it's super fun.
Yeah, I'm assuming I'm also just doing something wrong there, but let me just put it to you like this. I started the game after midnight, and next thing I knew, it was 7 a.m, and I'm still accidentally killing my colonists. So, yeah, it's that kind of game where you'll just lose yourself in it.
As I started it in the morning, I'm like, oh, it's like 6 o'clock. Okay, so I guess I'm not playing Oblivion today. So, yeah, it was a ton of fun, and I'm sure I'll be going back to it at some point because it was a blast.
You're listening to Zed to Zed.
I'm here with Prue.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about Lethal League. Lethal League was developed by Team Reptile. It was released on the 10th of May, 2017, and it has a store price of $14.99 US. So I don't really know how to describe Lethal League. It looks like a Super Nintendo game in kind of a good way. I actually really liked the style of this game. I liked it looked like something from the Super Nintendo era in sound, the graphics, the settings. The gameplay was pretty simple though. I mean, it's, I guess, simple. I don't know if simple is the right word, but kind of limited. It's a very small experience.
Yeah, there's not a lot to it. It's basically just wall ball. So you and your opponent face off, or multiple opponents if you choose to play that way, in this small kind of arena, and you just kind of have to hit the ball off the wall, and the more you hit it, the faster it goes. And the goal is to hit the other person with the ball to knock them out. And that's it. That's the whole game.
Yep. That's the entire game. So there's 3 different ways you can hit the ball. So you can do a normal hit that you can do in the air. If you're on the ground, you can bunt it, which shoots it up in the air but maintains its speed. So when you hit it again, it'll go faster. But it lets you stop the ball and then kind of aim it. And you can kind of aim it, but I always had a really hard time aiming where I wanted it to go. I don't know if that was just me or just kind of the aiming system in general. And then each character has a different special ability, and you fill up your special bar. I think you have to hit the ball 4 times or something, and then you double tap A and you do an ability. So sometimes it'll hit the ball a different, like, kind of, one of them teleports it to the other side of the screen so it comes up behind the other person. Some characters can double jump, which is not a charging ability. It's just, you can always do that. Some of them can hit the ball twice so it goes faster. So it's just kind of a little extra thing. I really found it didn't make much of a difference in the gameplay.
I was surprised when the teleport thing happened to me, though. I didn't expect it.
Yeah, but it gets you once, and then you know.
Yeah, once you catch on to it.
That's pretty much the thing with teleport. Is like, yeah, it'll knock you out the first couple times, and then once you know to look for it, then it's no big deal.
I was like, did I just hit the ball through to the other side of the screen? But no,
teleport guy. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of the whole game. It's really tough to kind of do an in-depth description of it because you kind of have to play it. It would have been nice. So it does have online multiplayer, which is a big plus because it's a multiplayer focused game.
Right.
And it does have pretty competent AI opponents as well, which is nice. So I mostly play against AI. I think I played a couple of online matches, and there were people playing. It only took me a minute or so to find a match. The people online are good. much better than me.
I think I played 2 people, and the one guy I played the first time, because that was the first thing I did, because when you boot up the game, the default first option is online multiplayer. So I think it was my first time and his first time, because we kind of kept jumping around trying to figure out the controls and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so it was nice. It actually worked out really well.
Yeah, that's good for you. Yeah, the guy that I was playing definitely knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that. And we were kind of talking before the show that it's a type of game that I think would be good for a kind of small experience with a few local people. Just a game. It's quite easy to pick up, and you could have some fun with it just in kind of a short little, hey, we got some people over, let's play a game for half an hour type of thing. But the price point, I think, is a little bit high for what it is.
Yeah, $15 seems a bit much. I agree that this would be ideal for 4 people, local, kind of fun. So I guess you could have fun with the online stuff as well. I don't know. I think you'd get bored after a little while for sure.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think without kind of having the local reactions of people yelling at each other, it would be not as fun to keep. Even so, locally, I think you'd probably get kind of tired of it.
Oh yeah,
in long sessions as well.
Play for a little while, but it would be fun to play for a little while. I'm sure. Kind of competitive.
I think so. Yeah, so I think if it was in the $5 to $10 range, I think it would be a little better in terms of the pricing, and it's kind of a shame too that because it does do all those things that we complain about all the time. It has online multiplayer. It doesn't have pixel graphics. I mean, it's got like kind of 16-bit, 32-bit era graphics, but they're very nice. They look good, and they kind of fit the style. But, without having a ton of different gameplay, it's kind of hard to, even though it has those things, to really say 15 is...
Yeah, it
is really worth it.
It's good. It's fun. It's just, that's a bit much for the amount of content you're going to get here. Just a few maps and characters.
And the maps are all the same. Like there's just different. It's just a different background. It's the same barrier in each map. It's just a different setting. Yeah. So I mean, it just like a fighting game, same kind of idea. You just have a different setting, but nothing really changes.
Yep. So just maybe if they had some sort of, I don't know, different modes or different ways to play, it might be worth the $15 right now. It's just not
or
that much.
Yeah, and I don't even know. That's a good point. I don't even know what I would add to it.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
That's kind of the thing. Is like, and there were different balls, but I couldn't figure out how to use them. So there were options in when you set up a match, but it didn't let you change them. Like you could change the number of lives, and you could change, I think, the time limit and the ball type.
Yeah, I played with a volleyball once, which I didn't like because it kind of loses all momentum right after you hit it, so it just kind of doesn't go very far.
So nobody ever gets killed?
It takes a while. Yeah, I guess it changes the game in the fact that you really have to play close up instead of kind of further away, like the normal ball. Because the normal ball doesn't lose momentum at all.
No, the normal ball speeds up very quickly.
Yeah. And this one just kind of dies. So I guess that's kind of one way to make it a little bit different, but it just wasn't for me.
Yep. So with that, I mean, if you're into local multiplayer stuff, like competitive, that's, not fighting games, you have to spend 1,000 hours just to win a match online, I'd say give it a go, but it's for everyone, the price is probably a little bit high.
Yep.
It's the Z to Z podcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this segment of Review Z. It is just me, Freemhole, right now. I do have some contributing information from Damien Spazpole, of course, but, with my awful recording times, I've got to do this by myself. The game that we both played is Black and White Bushido from Good Catch, both published and developed it. This came out on May 17th, 2017. It is a digital release that, as of now, it costs $12.99 US, and it is a kind of an arena
battle game, so very akin to like iDarb, if you can think of that, a 2D platforming battle game. This game very much is reminiscent of the old arcade cabinets where you have a singular battle screen with multiple platforms and elements on it that you can jump across. This has a 4-player co-op, or well, not co-op, a 4-player competitive battle area. Now, the 4 players can be any combination of local players or online players or bots, and they can add up to 4. The mechanics in this game pretty clever. I do like it. I think it unfortunately falls into the issues of being an independent title, and that just the gamer pool that you can play with is pretty shallow, and so there's not a lot of opportunity to find others. And you achievement hunters out there, you will love this game because it is a sub 1 hour completion, full 1,000, very easy. You simply need 4 controllers. So let's start with the game. What is it? Okay, like I mentioned, it's a single screen platformer with combat. You take the role of a samurai or a warrior, an ancient feudal Japan warrior. They have different silhouettes and whatnot, and you are a pretty small character on the screen. Actually, your character size is quite minuscule, and the mechanic revolves around being black or white. You are either a warrior of light or a warrior of shadow, and aside from the color being either black or white as your silhouette, there is really no difference. It is nearly identical, again, except for the color. The mechanics at play here, then, are the background color in the world will shift. And so at times, if there is a light source, it will cast a white light all over a portion of the screen, either blocked by various obstacles or walls and whatnot. And in the white, if you are a light character who also has a white silhouette, your character effectively disappears, and he can hide in that background color. Similarly, if you are a black silhouetted character, you will hide in the black shadows, and the different levels change as they go. So they're evolving. There's the platforms and stay the same. There's a couple of things you can interact with in the levels, but primarily it's a static level where then the light source will change. Either a street light will come on, or sun rays from the off screen will change where the lighting effects are, and so that effectively changes where you can hide and where where you're exposed. Now, this is a really cool mechanic because it does invoke some level of stealth. You can actually, when you move, there's a little gray dust cloud that pops up. And so that's how you can track your character, a black silhouetted character in a black background. You see some of the wisps of gray behind them. And so you're not completely invisible when you move. However, if you hold the trigger button, you creep and essentially do become invisible. This is great for when you're fighting bots because they then just have no idea where you are, and you can wait till they come. If you camp out at a location where you know they're going to come by, then you can just quick dash and slice them up. As far as real life players, I wish I could tell you. The unfortunate nature was that I never was able to play with anybody else. So let's just say I never played with any real human beings. The locally didn't have anyone to play with, and when I tried to do an online search, this may be a victim of when I look late at night in the Central Time, but they told me my wait time, the first scan I did, was 512 minutes. Unfortunately, I'm not going to wait 512 minutes, so I passed and just played that evening. And came back the next day and thought, well, let's just see what the online matchmaking looks like. And it was 1,909 minutes. So even worse. effectively meaning there's nobody online, so good luck. Now, this can be mitigated if you happen to put together a TA boosting session or an LFG and say, hey, looking for, a time people we should all try to meet up, and if you all searched at the same time, theoretically, you'd get into a match and it wouldn't be an issue. However, just kind of the one-off looking for a partner, looking for someone to play with, didn't happen. That is a negative I found in the game. Ultimately, I would think, like iDarb, if this game was free, like a Games with Gold on release, that you could build up a community of people to play with that would be exciting, enticing. That would give the developer some level of server pressure that they can actually try to play through. Again, I can't speak to the business nature in hand. It may not have been an option. They may not have wanted it. Whatever. But I think what's hurting is that there's no online community. You would have to set it up on your own. What's nice, though, is you do have the option to get a game in with your friends. And so if you said, hey, I set up an LFG in our Discord chat and said, let's play some Black and White Bushido, we could all search at the same time and bam, we could get a game. That likely can happen, and I'm sure it would be fun. Let's talk about the real fun. The easy completion. This thing is it's only 12 achievements, and it took me. I played for 48. That's what my timer says. That you can probably do this in actually about a half hour. It's not an issue. The everything can be done against bots, pretty much. You do need 4 controllers. There is one achievement where you have to play a 4-player local game, so you do need 4 controllers to get that one. And the other one that's kind of tricky is called Death from Above, and that requires you to. There are items on the screen. There's 3 boosts you can get. One is caltrops that you can lay on the ground, and if a bad guy walks over them, he starts bleeding and adds red to the platforms, and so you can kind of find them even if they're in their same color. The other is a shuriken, where it's simply a projectile that you can throw. It's a one-time use. All of these are one-time uses. And then the other one is a smoke bomb, which is it's a teleportation device, and it's a little convoluted. It took me a little bit to figure this thing out. To activate it, you press B, and that sets the point at which you will teleport to. So in this particular achievement, you need to kill an enemy after teleporting above them 10 times. And so what I did is I took my 3 bots when I set up the 4-player game, and I set them in a pile. And then I jumped over them, and I double jumped, so I was high enough to do it, and hit the smoke bomb. And then I walked over to the side, or really you can just do it right below. You hit B again, and you appear at that spot you double jumped. Now, what's tough is no matter what, one of you two will be invisible. Either you as the white character or black character will be offset and can't see where you're falling because of the background, or your targets will be invisible. It's just the nature of it. You should have an idea where you're going, but then you downward slice and bam, 3 at a time. So just do that 4 times and you have the achievement. So not terrible for a boost, just kind of confusing and convoluted. Everything else pretty much comes with just normal play. Look at the achievement list name. You could easily set it up in a bot session, or even a quick boost. But really, this did by myself takes 30 minutes. So it's a nice easy completion for achievement hunters. Circling back, there are 2 game modes. Predominantly, there is a capture the flag mode, where the flag appears at random areas. You have to highlight it and capture it that way, or a simple death match. There's that mode as well. Now, this game can likely expand into other modes, if there's a community that's willing it and pushing it. Like I said, though, with my matchmaking ability in this game, I'm just not sure that's going to end up happening. So, listen, achievement hunters out there, you're going to want this on your tag because it's quick completion. You'll get the easy achievements. This is rife for additional content or title updates, I'm hoping, and not DLC. I don't know. I don't know Good Catch's track record with how they want to do this. But it's a fun game. The mechanics are solid. The visual effects are cool, but one of the downsides that I didn't expound upon here is that stealth mechanic where you hide is actually can be kind of confusing. It's difficult to track your own character, and especially when you've got 4 players on screen. Even if you see your dust, it's hard to tell which way you're looking, which way you're going at some times. Like, you almost want to be in the opposite color so you stand out and can see them, but then, of course, if the enemy comes to attack you, they disappear, and so it's this weird give and take, this weird push and pull that it's both very cool from an aesthetic standpoint, but also very challenging from a visual tracking standpoint. And so I can only imagine if you had 4-player co-op, the sheer pandemonium that would ensue when you've got 4 people who the bot difficulty. I'm not sure if you can change this in the menus. I guess I didn't look that deep into it. I don't think you can. Anyway, the bot difficulty that I had set was remarkably easy, and they were pathetically jumping around, clueless at times, getting stuck in locations, and so you simply had to walk over there. And if you went invisible, right, if you held the trigger button and went invisible in your own color, they simply stop moving unless there is a flag for them to get. They will go after the flags. Comes down to now the price, which I think is going to be the biggest sticking point here at $13 US. That's a little steep. That's steep for a quick completion. I will likely not go back to this game unless I happen to have 4 buddies over, like those IDAR parties that I'm sure people were having. Anyway, so absolutely on a sale at this price, unless you had a group of buddies who really like this kind of stuff, I'm sure it would be absolute chaos and super fun, albeit pretty shallow. The mechanics get old relatively soon. It's simply slashing, hacking, fighting. There's not a ton of variety in how you kill things. There's not a ton of variety in the gameplay. And so, if you had a group of buddies over, you'd probably get a good 20 to 30 minutes out of it, and then you'd want to do something else. Now, if you have a larger collection of friends, that can have some legs with it, and you can have a lot to play. I just think it's relatively shallow. I'm excited though with the responsiveness of the controls, the cleverness of the game design, and aesthetically it's kind of cool. It's unique. And so kudos to good catch for that. They're at least heading in the right direction, I would say. And so I'm certainly follow their development for future games. But as far as this one, I'm going to give it a thumbs up on the sale, thumbs down on the full price. And it's a super easy completion, guys. Sub 1 hour. You're going to want to get in on that. So that'll do it for my segment of the Review Zed. I did mention that I had some support from Damien on this. He echoed many of my comments as well. Certainly regarding the price was his biggest sticking point, and the gameplay, solid but repetitive. So there you have it. That's it for this little installment of Review Zed. And I've been Brandon. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll catch you guys later. Have a good one.